Hello, hello. Welcome back to another Shared News from Home. We are live today to talk all things Bachelor Nation. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, joined today by the incredible Zachary Reality. Zachary, how are you? What's new?
Incredible. Thank you. Wonderful, incredible, fabulous. Loving all of these compliments. Everything is new. It's June. It's almost summer. Tomorrow is my birthday. So, everything is new and everything's exciting. And I'm excited to dish on all things Bachelor Nation with you.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yes, you guys, you have got to wish Zachary a very, very happy birthday. It's going to be a wonderful celebration, of course. But yes, we have a lot of Bachelor Nation news to get into. So let's just dive right into it, Zachary. We're going to kick things off with one of Bachelor Nation's faves who shared her thoughts on all of these upcoming changes coming to Bachelor in Paradise. Kaitlyn Miller Keys shared that she's totally here for the rotating host format. She told Us Weekly, "I don't think the host switch up matters the slightest bit. But I do think Bachelor in Paradise is all about comedy and comedic energy, and I think that that's just going to enhance that." She went on to say she thinks it will be fun and entertaining for viewers, and added, all these contestants are like, who's coming next? Who's coming back? So it's kind of a fun surprise in a better way, where it's not like stressing about a girl or guy coming down. It's like, who is the host? So interesting take there. I mean, Zachary, I know you and I have talked about this a lot. This whole rotating host format does seem like it could be fun, but it also seems like it could create some chaos. I mean, what is your take on her thoughts?
It was interesting to hear Caelynn kind of have an opinion on this because Caelynn has been out of Bachelor Nation for a few years, but she also just hasn't really commented on anything going on in Bachelor Nation for a couple years. She's been with Dean. They just bought a house together in Las Vegas. They're actually really happy. I don't think a lot of people expected them to last ever since the show ended, but they've been together and going strong for about 2 years. And, she stayed silent on a lot of the Cassie and Colton drama when she was really close with Cassie. So first, I'm just surprised to kind of hear from her because she has taken that low key approach. But I'm interested also that she brings up a good point because the contestants are not going to know who the hosts are. And it almost makes it more exciting for them seeing cool celebrity hosts. Imagine they were a fan of David Spade or Lance Bass or Little John or Titus. It's going to be exciting for them to see. But also, Tayshia and Kaitlyn have been hosting this season. They have had, a little bit of commentary, but the show is not about them. A lot of people were worried that it would become too much about them. And if you're watching this season, we're about 3 episodes in, it's not about them at all. They have a small part. They're definitely adding to the show, but it's all about Katie and her story. So I think the same thing is going to happen on Bachelor in Paradise, where these hosts will come in. Like Caelynn said, there'll be new comedic, jokes and everything, but it's not going to be fully about them if it's just like the way the Bachelorette is. So I'm excited to see the hosts. I don't think they're going to do it every single year. I think that they are going to try and find a host to kind of ground the show. And we kind of have Wells for that as well. But Caelynn definitely brings up an interesting point, and I do think they will add a lot to the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm following all of that. I totally agree with you. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, you are so right. She's been so low key, happy and in love. And she did reflect and share some advice. She sort of went through what her experience was like and any advice she could offer to people who are going to be throwing themselves into, that setting, trying to find love. She said, quote, "You're dating someone and you're super into them and you have no idea what beautiful girl is going to come down next. I do not miss that at all, but I would just tell future contestants to focus on your relationship and trust the person you're with. But it's also a crazy show, so you just never know what could happen." She went on to basically say that every time a new girl came in, it definitely brought up, stirred up some insecurities that she was dealing with. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Bachelor in Paradise is so fun. It is truly, I think, my favorite thing the franchise does because of all the chaos it creates, especially watching it at home. It's super exciting. You never know what's going to come next. But living it, honestly, that's probably one of the most stressful versions of going through this process. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think when you're on Bachelor in Paradise, you can become so solid in your couple or whoever you're with or whoever you give your rose to, but it's you never know who's coming around the corner. You might think but then you don't actually know until they're there, and it definitely stirs up a lot of drama. And we've seen plenty of love triangles on Bachelor in Paradise, because sometimes you like someone and then someone new comes in and it's just like a new beautiful object because everyone's beautiful, and then you get distracted and then there becomes drama. So I think I would be perfect to go on this show if they ever make an LGBTQ Paradise, because I would be so jealous and I would cause so much drama. And I think it would just make for a great TV show, which is also the purpose of the whole concept. It's like you're 50%, you're there to find love, but the other 50% is you're making a TV show. So even if the love and the relationships don't work out, as long as the show is doing well, that's all that really matters.
Well, I mean, I'm so with you. First of all, actually, I would like to start campaigning for that show. We need to make a lot of things happen because I would love to watch you in Paradise. But I'm totally with you. It's like at the end of the day, producers are trying to create a great television show. And as much as it might trigger some insecurities for the contestants, having everything be super easy breezy, you find a couple and you just are in love on the beach for a few weeks, would not be the same thing. You guys, we want to know your thoughts on everything Caelynn had to say. So make sure you send it to us over in the live chat. And keep chatting with us throughout the stream. We're going to be trying to get to some of your questions, your comments at the end. So let us know your thoughts throughout. And as always, you guys, if you are just tuning in live with us for the very first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you never miss out on a future live, any future videos. We are covering all things Bachelor Nation here on Shared News all the time, and there is always a lot to talk about. With that being said, we got to dive into the latest from Rachel Lindsay because, oh my goodness, she wrote a lengthy op-ed for New York Magazine where she detailed her long journey with the franchise, and you guys, she held nothing back. One of the standout subjects in the piece is how she views the Bachelor fandom. She explained, quote, "The franchise has spent 19 years cultivating a toxic audience. They have constantly given it a product it wants, a Midwestern/Southern, white, blonde, light-eyed Christian. Not all viewers are like that." She went on to say, "My higher learning co-host and I have divided it. There is a Bachelor Nation and there is a Bachelor clan." Now, she went on to explain what that means, and she says, quote, "The Bachelor clan is hateful, racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, and homophobic. They are afraid of change. They are afraid to be uncomfortable. They are afraid when they get called out." Now, I have to say, when Rachel announced she was leaving the franchise, I had a feeling that we were going to truly finally get to hear her unfiltered opinions. And I mean, this is certainly a statement. I'm just so curious to hear your thoughts on this, Zachary.
I think she brings up good points. I don't think all of Bachelor Nation is like that, but I do think there are some old school, ignorant Bachelor Nation watchers, and it does show in the ratings how Matt James's season went downhill in ratings, and a lot of people didn't even watch her season. Rachel's season is actually the lowest in ratings of all Bachelorette seasons. So I definitely think that there are some very ignorant old school watchers. The show has been around for 20 years almost. Like, there are people who don't know how to adapt, who watch the show, and just people in general who don't know how to adapt to the times. And I think that The Bachelor is trying to evolve a little bit by casting, more diverse contestants, but obviously they have a lot of work to do, and they still are behind in some aspects because there are other reality shows that have truly evolved with diversity, with LGBTQ, and just with so many more things. So Rachel has points. I think she always has opinions, and I think that's why a lot of people like her, because she is not afraid to say it like it is. But I think that the main thing with Rachel, which is why a lot of people don't like her, is because she is someone who is kind of really made it seem like The Bachelor is so toxic. Like, she's talked very negatively about the franchise. And I think there is a lot of things in the franchise that they need to get better and adapt. But it's like, Rachel, she can't stop talking about the franchise that she hates so much. And I think that is where a lot of people find issue with her, is because this is the franchise that gave her a huge platform. She was obviously very successful before the show. It helped her find her husband. And then it's kind of like, can you at least find one positive thing to say about the franchise? I don't know. I feel like I'm speaking for a lot of people on this, but I also do really respect and support her. And I know that she's been treated unfairly. And I like that she says it how it is. And I like that she's not afraid to call people out. But I feel like she doesn't give any grace to the franchise that kind of really halted her in her career and in her love life.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely, listen, there are a lot of people out there with a lot of mixed emotions on Rachel Lindsay. Of course, she obviously does say from time to time that she knows where she came from. She's thankful for her relationship. You know, even in this piece, she does talk about how producers had her back at times, but there's definitely always, I feel like, a but at the end of some of those statements. So you're right. In the process of really telling it like it is, there has been many, you know, complex discussions centering around the franchise's shortcomings. And when a lot of people do love something, of course, that's going to, you know, ruffle some feathers, rub people the wrong way. Later in her piece, she shared that she feels her now infamous interview with Chris Harrison, you all know the one if you're tuning in, caused the fandom that had, quote, always had a complicated relationship with her to further turn against her. So, I mean, listen, in her piece, she talked about the complicated decision she had to make, you know, to become the first Black Bachelorette. It wasn't a no-brainer for her. She struggled to decide to say yes. She then, like I mentioned, talked about, you know, the complicated relationship you're going to have behind the scenes with producers. Sometimes they have your back. Sometimes you feel very, you know, misunderstood, misrepresented. I believe she used the word exploited. And of course, she talked about ultimately choosing to exit the franchise. I mean, when you look at all of the ups and downs and the various unfair moments, I feel like she has had a journey with this franchise that is uniquely hers, right? I mean, she has gone through this roller coaster that, you know, is kind of crazy when you put it all out there like she did in this article.
Yeah, and I appreciate her putting it all out there because, you know, she did just leave the franchise about a month or two ago. She left Bachelor Happy Hour podcast. She's going to continue to talk about the franchise, you know, on extra TV and in certain articles and on her other podcasts. You know, it's still relevant pop culture. She's always going to give her opinion. And I think that this article for her with New York Magazine was just a way for her to kind of close out all of her thoughts and really set free on everything she's had to say about the franchise and just let her emotions and let her feelings out. And, you know, it's safe to say that she did not hold back. And she was actually even upset with New York Magazine. She made a post about it. She was upset that they used a certain title to basically, the title was I Blew Up the Bachelor. That was the title that they, you know, used for the piece. And she was actually upset because she doesn't want people to think she blew up the Bachelor. And she didn't blow up the Bachelor. Chris Harrison made his own mistakes and set his own. And Rachel Lindsay is definitely a target for people because she was the one who interviewed Chris. And it's kind of not fair in a way because she truly was kind of speaking up for what was right. And I think if anyone is like woke and you understand, Rachel, she does stand for all the right things. And she does want diversity and she does want change. And I don't think a lot of people can see that because they're so upset because they are blaming her for Chris Harrison leaving. And, you know, OG Chris Harrison stans are looking for someone to blame because they're very upset that he has gone from the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, speaking on, you talked about that headline, you know, she explained on that Instagram post that she felt misrepresented because those were not her words or a reflection of how she feels. And I mean, first of all, the way they phrased it does make it seem like it could have been a quote, right? Like sometimes headlines run a quote from the article and saying, oops, I blew up I mean, that's like very misleading. I'm definitely with her there. And the other thing about that headline is, you know, she really bared it all for this interview. So to feel so misrepresented there, The Bachelor didn't go anywhere, right? I mean, yes, that interview did create a trickle effect, but let's face it, this reckoning that the franchise is going through, all of these calls from fans for progress, didn't necessarily start, right, during that extra interview. So I do feel like kind of a disappointing headline, I guess. She went on to say, it is very disappointing and disrespectful that the very notion I was trying to refute was used against me by the publication for a clickbait headline. She added, my truth and my thoughts are told on the inside of the magazine, which I'm very proud of and hope you all read. So this just kind of made me like say, yikes, because it's really making me, I don't know, sad. Like she goes through, she sits down, she works closely with this publication. This was it, you know, this is the article I think we've all been waiting for. And then there's this moment, right, where it's like at one final piece, she still sort of was like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. I mean, thank God she's not someone who gives up and, you know, lets her voice be stifled, because I think this is a moment where a lot of people may have just chose to go, you know what, that sucks, but I guess that's what it is. And no, she used her voice to continue to encourage people to read her piece, but make it clear that she doesn't think she blew up The Bachelor. I mean, I don't know. I do think she's just very brave. We've said it before and I'll say it again. She's brave at the end of the day.
And she didn't blow up The Bachelor. Like, it's not her fault that The Bachelor blew up, and it's not the same as it used to be. There isn't a lot of controversy. I think that Chris Harrison has to be responsible for his own words, and the show and the franchise as a whole has to be responsible for taking so long to be diverse and change and adapt. And it's not her fault. It's what I'm really interested about, actually, though, like, off topic, and it's kind of off topic, but I'm like, I don't know if Rachel is getting paid to, like, how many magazines sell. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many people read this? Is she gonna get more money for this collaboration with the magazine? Because now, after she put out this statement, now the article is controversial, now there's a scandal, now people are more inclined to read because Rachel was upset. So I'm like, part of me is like, is there like a little underlying, like, oh, I'm gonna make more money if more people read this? I still think she was upset, as she should be, but it still makes me wonder. Did you ever think of that?
You know, honestly, I have to say, I definitely think you could be onto something. I'm really curious the ins and outs of how all these deals work, right? Because it's not necessarily like, it would have to be a paid collab, not just a come interview you and, you know, you get the publicity and that's great. Like, sometimes people don't get paid for things like this. So definitely interesting. We love a good conspiracy moment, of course. You guys, there's truly like so much to unpack from that op-ed. So if you haven't read it yet, make sure you do. I mean, we would be sitting and talking about this here for like 3 hours if we got to every single one of the points. And there is so much happening in Bachelor Nation this week that we're going to leave it off there. But we definitely want to know your thoughts. Have you read the op-ed? What do you think of what she had to say? Do you think there's something to, you know, her notion that the franchise or the fandom, can be toxic? Let us know in the chat. We want to hear your take, of course. We do have to move on because we have a pretty interesting update on Katie's season. We're still talking about Greg, Zachary. It's just going to be the, you know, controversy,
I'm okay with
conspiracy. I know. We love a good Greg chat. So he, of course, you guys, if you're keeping up, you know he emerged as an early fan favorite and front runner. But as we have unpacked at length on this channel, there have been tons of rumors and conspiracies regarding his intentions for going on the show, continuing to sort of emerge online. It, of course, came out that Greg may have some acting aspirations. He went to an acting studio at one point. So people have varying thoughts on this. You know, does it mean he's there for the wrong reasons? Does it matter at all? It kind of varies across the fandom. But it looks like Katie may have just subtly entered the chat and shared her take on how she feels about all of this. She was caught liking and later unliking a meme shared by Becca Martinez's podcast on their Chatty Broads Instagram page about Thomas and Greg. So you can see on the screen right now, the meme reads, when the guy next to you is getting interrogated about wanting to be the Bachelor, then you've got to pretend to be disgusted while hiding your acting career aspirations. Now, Zachary, what do we make of this? Because this Greg thing has been turned upside down so many times. I don't even know where I stand on him, if I'm suspicious or not suspicious. Katie, it's like the oldest thing in the book. If you like anything on social media, it's going to make a headline. Was she being intentional here? I mean, what are your thoughts?
You know, when you like an Instagram picture or you like a tweet, I think that is like you agreeing with the picture or the tweet without forward about it by posting it on your platform. However, memes are jokes. Like, that is the pure purpose of a meme, is to make people laugh. Like, it's a joke, it's a meme. However, all jokes have subtle truth underneath. So it makes me wonder if Katie liked it because she kind of agrees with it and something is going to play out in the rest of the season that we're going to find out. Or maybe she's just laughing along with the joke and the meme because she knows that there's people who are saying that about Greg, and it's just a joke. It's just a joke. And you can see Becca commented here. It says, it's just a joke. I went on the show for clout. So Becca's like, everyone goes on the show for clout, and then you, of course, want to fall in love too. You go on the show for multiple reasons. I don't think it's that serious, but I think that Katie shouldn't have liked it because it almost gives an indicator into what the season could be, even if she was just liking it as a joke. So I'm curious why she liked it and her intention, but we do know, and I know you're going to bring this up, that she did end up unliking it. And she probably only unliked it because it was brought to her attention. But what if she liked it on accident? I have liked so many things on accident. I have voted on people's polls on Instagram on accident when I don't mean to. So you really never know. But that is the update, that she did unlike it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so that's the thing. We don't know if she liked it and then immediately unliked it. There are screenshots floating around of the like and then the missing like. So it's all very confusing. I have to say, I wonder if she, like you said, liked it thinking it was funny and then unliked it because she realized, like, I don't have the luxury of liking things because they're funny right now. Like, we just don't know how we're all going to feel about Greg by the end of this season. I'm still, like, holding out some hope that he's not. I mean, I think my heart will break a little bit if he ends up being someone who we don't love. It'll be such a shame. But we've got to talk about the fact that the second part of this crazy social media update comes from Greg's sister. So we've got the Katie piece, right? She liked it, she unliked it. We don't know the intentions there. But then we also have this comment from Greg's sister. She commented, you guys, and then deleted this comment. So a lot of second guessing going on. But the comment reads, Katie Thurston likes this post, but was such a supporter of removing the toxicity in Mean Girls when she was on Matt's season. You'd think if those intentions were genuine, she'd had just as much of an issue with this post as well. Really disappointed in this. I mean, Zachary, I am like blown away. I just don't know what to make of this. I mean, this is a sister aggressively coming to the defense of her brother. Obviously, his intentions, his morals, I mean, you open TikTok, search his name, it's all being questioned, right? I mean, so I do get why she might be going into defense mode, but I just cannot get over the like and unlike, the comment and uncomment. It's created like this little mini surge of chaos. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think when she wrote that, that's what she meant. And once it started to get picked up by other Bachelor fan accounts and other outlets, she realized that she had to delete it because this is almost a spoiler. You know, this is this is definitely a spoiler in a way because she's clearly triggered and she's upset with Katie. It's a meme. It's a joke. It's not that serious, Samantha. Like, you do not need to come to your brother's defense over a meme. Like, calm down, Samantha. Please take a chill pill. It's not serious. However, this is making it seem like there is an underlying issue between Samantha and Katie, which leads me to believe, in my detective hat, that they meet. There is a hometown date. Things don't end well between Greg and Katie, and Samantha's upset, and something else happens towards the end of the season with Greg, and that is why Samantha is so upset about Katie liking this tweet. This is 100% a stretch. Katie was not supporting Mean Girl. Like, Katie was not trying to bully Greg in any way by liking a joke of a post, and Samantha really let everyone know her feelings. So I think that there might be some drama in regards to Greg towards the end of the season because, like, listen, we all love Greg. He's clearly a front runner, but have we ever seen someone so likable so quick? Everyone thinks he's going to win and that it's so obvious. Why would the winner be so obvious within the first episode? So that's why I think there's going to be some drama with Greg towards the end of the season, and it's not going to end well between these two, which is really sad because we like Greg. And it's going to get crazy, and Samantha is kind of confirming this, and she should have kept her mouth shut.
Yeah, I mean, you are so right. I agree. I definitely think that this could be, you know, a true spoiler, something we're going to call back to after we see it all play out, because the more and more, I love how you called out how much we've been seeing him, how lovable Greg is. The more and more I think about it, the amount of screen time, the amount of positive screen time that Greg has been getting, it does just all feel a little too easy so far. So I'm starting to get nervous, starting to get a little suspicious. And it's going to be very interesting. We have seen in those promo videos, you know, the one for the whole season trailer, some moments where Greg does look really upset, like something is super serious going on. So I don't know. I have no like final conclusion other than definitely one to watch. Hopefully, I hope that it just doesn't work out between them and that we all, as, you know, a fandom, did not read him wrong, that all of us were not totally, you know, misled, but only time will tell. We do have some new details about next week's episode. ABC has released the official episode synopsis, you guys, and it looks like things are going to continue to be very dramatic. I'm going to read you this synopsis and all of its colorful teases, and then we're going to try to unpack this, Zachary, and see if we can pull out any real clues. So, It says a group date, of Truth or Dare seems to be all fun and games until the night takes a serious turn and the men find themselves contemplating telling Katie a slimy secret they've uncovered. Later, Tayshia surprises Katie with a revelation about someone from her past, Blake, and the men band together to tell the truth, leaving one suitor to fend for and defend himself. Tired of questioning who is here for the right reasons, our strong-willed Bachelorette takes a stand like we've never seen before to ensure the house is filled with good vibes only. It's a roller coaster of a week, to say the least. So I love how dramatic they write these things. But a couple of standouts to me, obviously that Tayshia, talking about her past, that's clearly Blake. And then I'm curious if you think this slimy secret has to do with Thomas. It feels like that's where this is going. What are your thoughts?
I think it's possible that it has to do with Thomas. I also think a game of Truth or Dare never ends well. It is a recipe for disaster. So what a great idea for a group date, especially when they are kind of stranded in New Mexico. They're really not traveling. I actually hope that the next season of The Bachelorette, since COVID is kind of coming back, that they can maybe start to travel a little bit or go new places. But they definitely want to take extra precautions because there's clearly a lot of people on the set. But I think it might have something to do with Thomas. Thomas kind of emerged as the villain on this week's episode. A lot of the guys kind of turned on him. There was definitely more to the story about him wanting to be the next Bachelor. We left it on a cliffhanger. So it will be interesting to see what happens. And with Blake showing up, this is good. This is going to be juicy. I think it's coming around the right time. We didn't know if Tayshia was going to be the one to kind of facilitate that, or we didn't know if it was going to be awkward because Tayshia and Blake did have a connection. They were dating, and now Tayshia is Katie's friend. So I'm excited for Blake to come. I want to know if Katie and Blake have a connection from before the show, before she was announced being the Bachelorette, or if Blake is literally just coming on his own, risking it all. It's going to make for great drama. Hopefully it goes better for Blake than it did for Heather.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be very, very interesting. And on the Blake front, actually, this kind of takes us to the next topic, which is Nick Viall kind of spilled some tea regarding Blake. It's a little all over the place. It's a little confusing. So let's kind of dive in and break this down too. So first of all, we've heard that maybe, there was a brief, DM cordial message between Blake and Katie, but nothing elaborate, right? Nothing where they really got to know each other. So that was sort of a headline we talked about a few weeks ago. Not that big a deal. But now in a new interview with Us Weekly, Nick says that Katie told him about Blake's arrival before the group date he led. So right there, we can all probably get a little confused, right? Because we've seen in that promo video, Tayshia and Katie, sitting down, having a conversation about it. We've also seen footage, if you think back to those teasers, of him holding up a boombox below her window. Mm-hmm. So timeline-wise, I'm starting to feel like something weird's going on. Nick said, quote, "I think Katie had met him. I don't know for sure. She told me about it, and it was filmed. They didn't use it, but it was filmed." He added that there's so many moving pieces on The Bachelorette and too much to cover from the group date he led. Of course, that date had a lot of heavy subject matter. A lot of the men opened up about things that are very personal. Katie very bravely opened up about her personal experience with sexual assault. So basically what Nick is saying here is that there was too much that needed to be given time to breathe in that episode to introduce Blake then. Which does make sense.
Wow.
He says, quote, "The stuff that came out on the date with Thomas and obviously Katie's story, you want to give that its rightful air and oxygen and its space for Katie to be heard. I think that was really brave of her. So it doesn't shock me with all that was going on. We'll see Blake in the next episode." So here's what's interesting to me. I think this is kind of a moment of reality TV magic that isn't necessarily malicious, right? Basically maybe the Blake meeting came on a day where they thought they could squeeze it in. They didn't know what they were going to get. And it was, tracked for week 3. But then upon review, that wasn't going to work. So to me, simplest version of them trying to unpack this is they refilmed their initial meeting because there just wasn't really time. He got there was a brief hello, she got pulled into something else. But I don't know. Could it be more? Could we come up with a bigger conspiracy theory here? I mean, what do you think? I feel like it was bold of Nick to put this out there.
It was, but I'm sure he got permission, maybe, because I know he works very closely with the producers in the Bachelor franchise. He has one of the most popular Bachelor podcasts of them all, and he was, on the show, so he obviously knows a little bit about what's going on. He hosted that group date. We saw 2 previews with Blake. We saw him at nighttime kind of screaming, and Katie was on the balcony. And then we also saw a preview during the day where Tayshia was telling Katie that Blake was here. And then it was like daytime, Blake was kind of walking around. So I think it's possible that Blake came and they maybe met, and then they're saving that scene for the next episode because last episode was so heavy. And then it's like Blake is like isolating himself. He's not with the rest of the guys, which is just going to cause a bigger wedge between the guys and Blake. I'm just like curious if he's going to become the villain and all the guys are going to hate on him because he's coming in a few weeks into the season. And also with what Nick just said, it kind of sounds like Katie and Blake did have a relationship to some capacity before she became the Bachelorette. I don't know if they were just texting, or maybe they had a FaceTime, or maybe they were in Clubhouse together, or maybe they actually got to meet. They definitely had some type of connection so that Blake had an inkling that if he did go on the show, she was open and receptive to exploring the connection between the 2 of them. So now I'm just like, I can't wait to see their chemistry and how it works out. And I kind of like them together, but I need to see them together on my TV before I can determine if this is for real or if this is just like kind of a setup situation.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very interesting. I think this has been an arrival that we have all been very excited about. I mean, I keep going back to that lengthy promo of the whole season. Certainly from all of the shots we see of Blake in that, it looks like he's going to find a way to really like become a part of the show, villain or accepted by the guys or not. He certainly, it at least appears so, is going to have more luck than Heather. So we all know how difficult and unfortunate that situation was. So it's going to be really crazy to see these moments actually start to happen. I have to say I'm very, very excited about it. You guys, we want to know your thoughts on all of this. What do you think of what Nick had to say here? And are you excited to see Blake? Because I know not everyone is thrilled about this, right? So let us know in the chat. And with that being said, we are nearing the end of our show, so we want to try to get to some of your questions, your comments, maybe you've got concerns. Send them our way in the chat if you haven't. Listen, there's a lot of heavy topics. There are a lot of things going on in Bachelor Nation. People might be stressed. So
I'm
send
stressed.
them to us. Yeah. Oh my God, I know. Send them to us in the chat, you guys, because we're going to try to look at as many of them as we can. If you haven't yet, you still got time. You can jump in there right now. And also, you guys, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. Make sure you ring the bell. We're going to be going live again this week and in all of the weeks to come. We will continue to keep you updated as news breaks, because keeping up with Bachelor Nation is truly a team effort, a full-time job. You just never know what's going to happen, Zachary, on any day. That's really what it comes down to.
Absolutely.
All right.
I guess I'll take this one from Candy Sprinkles.
Go for it.
Happy early birthday. Mine is July 2nd. Well, happy birthday to you, too. It's Cancer season. I hope you have a great birthday. It's a lot of pressure to have a birthday. It almost feels like a wedding. It's like that one day a year. You just want it to go well. So I hope that we all have good birthdays during Cancer season. And I know a lot of people like to look into astrology while they watch The Bachelor, because sometimes it kind of can tell like what signs you're dating. So I don't know what sign Katie is. I completely forgot, but I think she might be a Capricorn. If anyone knows her sign, definitely let us know, because I would love to kind of debunk which guys she might be into based on the sign that she could possibly be. Do you believe in astrology, Fiona?
You know what? Honestly, I believe in it, but I don't know anything about it. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, there's nothing to that. I can totally go down a wormhole and like see value in it, but I know nothing about anything. I barely know about my own sign. So I would love for you to do some research though for me, Zachary, and fill me in, give me some theories. We have another one here from Tanya. She says, I feel like rotating host is a very risky situation for the stability of the Bachelor franchise. I feel like ABC needs to hire a permanent host replacement for Chris Harrison. Tanya, I have to say, you are speaking our language here. We have said this many times. We do feel like, obviously, glass half full. Hopefully it goes amazing. We all love it. But there kind of feels like a nice, stable leader with a consistent energy can do a lot to kind of keep things moving in a situation like Paradise. So Paradise is going to be interesting to see. Who hosts the next Bachelorette is going to be interesting to see. Looking far ahead, who's coming in for the Bachelor. I mean, lots of possibilities. The good news is, though, our guy Wells got a bigger role, so I know you and I are happy about that too, Zachary.
And I think that they will find a more permanent host, but I think that they just didn't want to scramble and find someone who isn't the right fit for the job. They had this Bachelorette season to fill. They had Paradise to fill. I think they just wanted to kind of let everything digest and see how things played out with Chris and the franchise and everything. I do think they will find a permanent host for Michelle's season or just for the Bachelor, which I guess will air next January. But Katie is saying, I think that Blake is doing the same thing Nick Viall did when Kaitlyn was the Bachelorette. Actually, the last person to show up from a previous season on The Bachelorette was Nick Viall. On The Bachelor, we had Heather, come in twice. We had Becca Tilley on Ben Higgins' season. We also had Chantel for the OGs when she came back on Ben Flanick's season way back in. But we actually haven't had someone crash The Bachelorette since Nick Viall. He went on Kaitlyn Bristow's season right after Andy Dorfman's season. It was a year apart. He did reveal that him and Kaitlyn actually had a connection before the show, and that's why he went on the show. He came in about episode 4, and as soon as Nick Viall came in, he was hated by all of the guys. He became target enemy number 1. Not a lot of the guys liked him. He became huge rivals with Sean, who was the other frontrunner. They were in the final 2 on season. And that Blake has a lot of challenges coming in because it just doesn't work out when you're coming in from another show. Remember what happened with Heather? They called her a Bachelor hopper. Blake definitely has an uphill battle to face when he gets here. And it'll be interesting to see how receptive the guys are to accepting him into the bromance, or if they're going to target him like they maybe targeted Carl or Thomas. It seems like, someone's always the odd one out.
Yeah, and I mean, it feels like a consistent theme in that house so far, drama-wise, is being there for the right reasons. And I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Blake because if they're, guys who have been following the franchise, they know that he was really into Claire. He was genuinely hurt when Claire, chose to marry or, get engaged, to Dale. And I'm trying to keep up with those two still. And then, of course, he was definitely really all in for Tayshia as well. So I think the right reasons, and if he's really ready to be with Katie, could also be something that house could easily be calling him out on. We have another one here from April. She says, not a fan of Thomas. Not genuine. I think he needs to go for sure. And she added, go Blake. Always liked him. I did like Blake too. I felt like Claire wasn't his perfect match. I also felt like Tayshia at the end of the day, their chemistry didn't do it for me, but I do like him. I think he really wants to find love, so I'm with you. Definitely not a fan of Thomas, to your first point. I feel like that guy is so slick, so slimy. I think he tried to play such an angle with I feel like it was kind of like, I'm just going to say what nobody is saying, which is, what you're getting when you come onto the show. You're getting a platform, but I'm so into you now that I can't even imagine it going this well. No, too rehearsed, too weird, keeping it real in the wrong way. That is a thing that needs to remain unsaid, I think. And the fact that he was so cocky to think he could say it and win people over, 2 thumbs down.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Thomas at all. I think he needs to go home. But Carissa is saying, I really want her to be with Blake. I've liked Blake from the start. I actually am indifferent with Blake. On Tayshia and Claire's season, I was very indifferent. I didn't like him. I didn't hate him. I didn't have much of a strong opinion. He was there. However, once I heard that he was coming to Katie's season, because, we kind of saw teasers a couple months ago almost, I was excited because I really felt like the two of them would work well together. And I thought it would just be more fun to have someone from another season. So I'm here for Blake coming. I don't know what will happen when the show starts and we see what kind of energy he brings. If he becomes a villain, I will definitely not like him, but I might like him too. Right now I'm going into it. I'm excited to see him. And I think Katie's going to like him. I really do think that these two will mesh together. So I'm so excited. And I think it's very possible that she will develop a connection with Blake and that he could go far into the season. We saw a couple snippets of him in the trailer, but we didn't see too much. There are connections already forming with Greg and Michael A. and Andrew. So I don't know if Blake coming in is going to halt that and be a too late of a start. So it will be interesting to see how he fares and if Katie really likes him. Remember with Heather, she got sent home within 10 minutes. So I don't think that will happen with Blake, but you truly never know.
You truly never know. All right, this user says, I hope we get a relapse of Heather from Colton's season, trying to join Matt's season, but getting booted immediately. Blake is a weirdo. I mean, listen, this is what makes Bachelor Nation so fun. Everyone's going to have their favorites. Everyone's going to have people they don't like. I love that you said you were kind of indifferent to him, Zachary, because I totally get that. I feel that way towards so many contestants. I'm just like, not angry if they stay, but I don't think they're going to go super far. I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting. I do think, listen, we have seen the men in this house really understand the power of what happens when they band together as a unit. I mean, Carl was going to stay, which of course I didn't know, but he was going to stay. And when they stood together as a team, it worked. He was sent home. So I do think that now that they've seen that work once, it's going to be very, very difficult for Blake to be accepted by that group of men because they have found power in numbers, at least so far in the competition. I do think as the numbers tend to go down and down and down and down, this overall brotherly sort of like, democratic space they've set up is maybe going to fall to pieces, but who knows? Maybe we'll see, maybe we'll see that continue till the very end.
So Natalie, welcome back, Natalie, says, I don't mind Thomas. At least he's better than Queen Victoria. The slander against the Queen is just something that I just can't get behind. I love Queen Victoria. There are lots of rumors that she is going to Paradise, so maybe people will be open to giving her a second chance. I don't even think you could compare her to Thomas, because I think Queen Victoria was like that one person in the house that was kind of like the oddball, or kind of just like the girl that just didn't get along with everyone. And I feel like with Thomas, it's kind of just like an in-the-moment thing. I don't necessarily think that Thomas's feud with the whole house is going to last the entire season, because it kind of came out of nowhere, and then they had problems with Carl, and there's definitely going to be more drama between the guys. So I don't even think you can compare Thomas and Victoria. Victoria never mentioned wanting to be the next Bachelorette. She just wanted to be the next queen. So it's totally a different situation here.
I agree. I don't think that they're necessarily, going to be the same category of villain. I do think that there was a perhaps extra layer of confidence in Victoria and in Thomas that kind of drove some of their actions, but I think that's as far as you could really go with a comparison between those two. Natalia says, Blake there to stay, deal with that. I mean, he truly might be. We saw what looked like, if we go back to that trailer, we saw what kind of looked like maybe a one-on-one between the two of them. And that's a big deal. So I'm very curious to see what his journey will be. I do think a lot of people out there, whether you love Blake or you're not super into him, can see how he and Katie could potentially have chemistry. We know they have similar senses of humor. We learned on Tayshia's season that Blake is also, very sex positive, very comfortable, really putting it all out there. So I do see how they could truly work and how he could go the distance, which honestly, as we keep coming back to Heather, was not a given. He could have been in and out of there in 48 hours. There was no guarantee that this was going to work. So it's going to be very interesting to see. I think Nick Viall said in that interview we talked about, he was all in for Claire, he was all in for Tayshia. I don't doubt that he's actually, all in for Katie, but this guy falls hard, was kind of the sentiment. I think he's definitely someone who is a bit of a hopeless romantic, I guess. Do you get that read from him, Zachary?
100%. He's definitely all in. And I hope that Katie at least gives him a one-on-one date, because he is coming in pretty early in the season. With Heather, she came in like a week before hometowns. There really was no time to explore that relationship. But the show just started. There is definitely room for Blake to join and, form a connection with Katie that he possibly already formed before the show. So, until this day, I think it's very possible that he will be here for a minute. We kind of talked about how they have a lot in common. So hopefully if she gives him that one-on-one date and they have a chance to form a connection, and if he truly is all in, that's kind of what Katie's looking for. She's looking for someone that is all in, there for her. She's already sent guys home who she's doubted. So Blake coming in with a target on his back from being someone from a previous season, he's going to have to make his intentions very clear and be straight up. And I think that if he does do that, Katie will like that. She'll keep him around, give him a one-on-one date, and then their connection can possibly form naturally and genuinely from there.
Yeah, and I mean, I just went back to that episode synopsis for next week, and it says the Bachelorette takes a stand like we've never seen before to ensure that the house is filled with good vibes only. So I do think that this whole there for the right reason situation could spill into the chaos of Blake arriving, and it sounds like Katie is going to do what she does and take control and lay down the law. Lots of exciting Bachelorette updates, of course, you guys. That is everything we have to share with you today. There is so much going on in Bachelor Nation all the time. We want to know your thoughts. So if we didn't get to your question, we didn't get to your comment, make sure you drop it down for us in the comments below. We will try to take a look. Like I said, we're going to be going live again this week to continue the conversation. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. Make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future updates. As always, I am your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the absolutely incredible Zachary Reality. If you want to come say hi and check out our socials, they are on the screen right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in live with us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.